Good morning and welcome again to this webinar, which is going to focus on Autodesk and their support for the education sector. Presenting is Autodesk Learning Partner Distributor, Knowledge Point Limited, which I work for. My name is Thomas Carlson and I look after the Autodesk business in our company. And I also have my colleague, Furkan Gunal, who's joining us a bit later on in this call to do a demo of Fusion 360. Our role is to be a learning partner distributor, which means that we are facilitating access to the different tools and resources that are available to education and training organizations around the world, and our particular focus on the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. What we're hoping to cover in this section today, or in this presentation today, is four main parts. We're going to position Autodesk as a business and what's going on in their industries. We'll then loop that back to how this may be relevant for education and training organizations. We've decided to also include a component of doing a test drive and demoing one of Autodesk platforms, Fusion 360. And the reason we've chosen this platform is because it's got a lot of features and functions that are quite intuitive to learn and also quite fun to work with. And it's therefore a tool that's particularly suitable for education and for students who may be new to design and CAD to start going with it. And this is where my colleague Furkan will take us through a nice workflow to show you how it operates. And finally, rounding off, we're also going to share some information and advice on how you may leverage all of these resources and tools after the call. You probably also noticed that we have muted the phone lines. We're recording the session and we'll share the recording afterwards. If you think of any question while we present, then feel free to use the chat function to put your question in. But with that said, let's get started. And we wanted to kick off by just positioning Autodesk a bit. And many of you are probably already familiar with them, and you know that their design and make tools are used by innovators across a wide range of industries, from architecture, engineering, construction, in manufacturing, and in media entertainment. And one thing that all of these different industries have in common is that digitization is really developing at a very rapid pace. So a key focus for us who are in this network is, of course, to understand how we can help and support end users of the technology work even better and more efficiently. As part of that effort, Autodesk recently conducted a research study together with a global analyst, Ipsos. They interviewed 2,500 business leaders from all of these industries across the entire world and arrived at a number of conclusions on what's relevant in industry, what's on leaders' minds at the moment. This call is not long enough to cover all of those findings, but I wanted to call out a couple of points which I believe are particularly relevant to the education sector. And starting is that one of the key conclusions is that an absolute focus for all leaders across these industries is indeed digital transformation. 79% of the participants said that the future growth of their company now depends on digital tools, which means that companies around the globe are really infusing digital in everything they do, from processes, products, and business models. Aligned to this is another finding, and that is that there's an ever-growing skills gap. So there aren't enough people who have the skills in the digital tools that these companies want to use. And this applies to both the existing workforce, but actually also to new graduates. So 2 out of 3 business leaders in this research study said that they're struggling to find employees who have the right skills that they need in their business. And what are those skills? Well, what the participants in this research told us is that the skill set needs to be very broad. So knowing the digital tools and how to use them is just a starting point. It's actually also about being able to analyze data and understand the world around us to then map that back to the business context and the teams they're working in together with their peers to drive innovation. It's also about having a mindset of continuous development, both on an individual and personal level to master new key processes and technology development such as AI or automation, but again, also to then infuse that in the company's innovation, design, and growth processes. So a fairly broad skill set is what employers are looking for, where digital infuses everything. And at this point is where I would like to move, map it back to the education sector. Because if this is what's on top of business leaders' minds, then that by definition means that this is the reality that our students will be facing once they graduate and start looking for a job. So for those of us who are on the education side, we really need to keep this in mind and look at how we can support our students to acquire these skills and then also demonstrate, of course, to future employers that they have them. And how do we do that? Well, from the Autodesk and KnowledgePoint side, we feel that there's a few best practice areas that can be implemented. The starting point is definitely the tools, the technology. So giving access to the latest tools so that we're using the workflows that industry is using. But in addition to that, we also, of course, need to use training material that has been built on that workflow so that students can see that acquiring these skills actually has real use, that these are skills that they can put to use in a job in a business. By leveraging industry certification, we can also link what they learn to tangible outcomes that may help them with their future career opportunities because they have an industry recognized credential to add to their CV and their work portfolio. And last but certainly not least, we know that absolutely key to any learning process is the faculty, educator, and teachers, individuals like you. So supporting you to also acquire the same skills and drive professional development and give you access to tools and resources is equally important, of course. Let me quickly review these areas in a bit more depth. And we'll start with the software. I realize that many of you may already be aware, but Autodesk is providing access to their almost entire product portfolio free of charge to qualified educational institutions. The way this works is that there's two access levels. There's one for the institution level, where you can access licenses for your IT labs and computer rooms. And there's then individual plans for both educators and each student to download the software and use it on their personal machine. All of it is managed through the education community, which is a website that provides access to the tools. The plans that are being offered run for 12 months, and then they are automatically renewed following a short verification that particularly the student is still an active student. So if you haven't leveraged this already, then we strongly recommend that this is one of the key actions following this call, is to check this out. The further benefit is that not only is almost the entire product portfolio available, but it's also software that has the full functionality of the commercial versions so that you can teach students exactly the same workflow that they will encounter once they've graduated and are out in industry. Complementing the software is a rich library of learning content that has been developed by Autodesk curriculum team and based on their engagement with customers, but also best practice for teaching and pedagogy, etc. This material is set up or built up in a modular way. So it ranges from shorter modules that cover a specific workflow or a specific area for people who want to deep dive. Autodesk curriculum designers have then taken several of these modules and combined them into recommended courses, which are more end-to-end and broader to teach a more complete flow. And finally, several courses have been mapped together into learning pathways that are based on skills that are needed in particular industry roles. So the learning pathways really teach someone from the ground up core skills that they will definitely have use for once they graduate. And those learning pathways are aligned to Autodesk certification as well. So what this means for you as an educator is that this is a resource that you can leverage in two ways. You could either look at it as a library, a repository of content where you can grab some of these modules. They have exercises and files, etc., that can complement your existing courses and programs, and therefore save you some work and time in terms of developing this all from scratch yourself. The other way is that you could actually focus on the learning pathway, so these predefined end-to-end flows, and use them as a blueprint for launching a new course or a new program, and thereby again speeding up your development processes. And the additional benefit of the learning pathways is, as I mentioned, that they're connected to Autodesk certification. And Autodesk certification is like a lot of other IT certifications built on industry roles. And what that means is that these type of credentials are becoming more and more popular and more demanded by employers because they are a quick way of assessing someone's skills and suitability for roles in their business. And in an environment where students are faced with, or I should rather say, students in particular have a particular use of this because they're, of course, graduating in an environment where they are coming with less experience, practical experience. So beefing up their portfolio with an industry certification is a great way of putting them on par with the existing workforce that may have a bit more experience. So particularly for students and for educational institutions, this can be a really interesting solution. To say a few words more about Autodesk certification, there's exams on different levels mapped to the skills and experience of the student and the end user. These range from certified associate, professional, and expert. There's also exams on a number of Autodesk software products, so focusing on their core industry. So there's exams for Revit, AutoCAD and Civil 3D, and then for Fusion 360 and Inventor. And as I mentioned in the intro, Fusion 360 is one of our focus areas here in this particular call. So you'll see that there's quite a few options there. The exams are normally sold to end users industry at a price point that is set based on that. We do, however, have the opportunity to offer these exams at a very attractive discount for educational institutions. So that's a point that we could touch base on after the call if this would be of interest to you. Rounding off, I also wanted to call out the opportunity for professional development for educators and faculty members. Our role here at Knowledge Point is to manage a network of so-called Autodesk learning partners. These are organizations around the world that have been authorized by Autodesk to deliver training on their software. They work with both industry customers, but they actually also, many of them have initiatives, promotions, etc., where they deliver training to academic institutions and educators. What they have in common is that their instructors have been certified by Autodesk, so they have certified instructors on their team. They're also regularly evaluated by Autodesk in terms of training delivery and customer satisfaction. So you can trust that this is an official channel where you get high quality training. And our partners are, as said, offering initiatives and support to the academic market. So this is another point we could follow up on after the call. So looking at it as a net, there's free software, there's free learning material. Complementing that are discounted, but for pay solutions in terms of industry certification and industry standard training that can be accessed by academic institutions. So I hope that this first part has given you an orientation of those different resources and tools that are available. What we wanted to do next is to then talk about the actual tools or the platforms, the cool factor here, the Autodesk technology. And as I mentioned in the initial introduction, I'm going to invite my colleague Furkan Gunal, who works on the Knowledge Point team. He's also an expert actually on both Fusion 360, that particular platform, but also on delivering training, and he's worked with a number of end users over the past few years, from students, educators, and also in industry. So I'm really looking forward to this. Furkan will do a test drive or a demo of the key functionality and workflow in Fusion 360. So we hope that this will be really useful. Furkan, thank you for joining us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Thomas, and welcome everyone. As Thomas mentioned or introduced me, I'm Furkan Günal. I'm working at Knowledge Point as partner acquisition executive, and also I'm helping Autodesk in education sector in Turkey. I'm teaching Fusion 360 to universities, into universities and high schools for years. Also, I'm an expert elite, and I'm helping Fusion 316 users around the world through Autodesk forums. And also, lastly, I'm also active user of Fusion 316. So while sharing my screen and doing a quick test drive, I will try to mention my own experiences to you. Let me try to share my screen here. And also, I will stop my video to be sure that you can see my screen flawlessly. I guess I can start with the user interface with Fusion 316. As you can see, it have really simple and understandable screen. You can see every comments here. The most important part of Fusion 316 is that Fusion is cloud-based program, so we have so many different things we can do with this cloud-based. The most important part that it's the Fusion 316 cloud-based program, and we can do collaboration easily. For example, we have a data panel here on the left side of the Fusion 316. You can see there are different projects, and I always suggest the students to create new project before starting to model anything. For example, for this test drive, we can create new projects, and let's name it as Knowledge Point Fusion 316 test drive. So let's wait for a while. As soon as you create your new project, you will see two different sections. First section will be data section, and this part will be the section that all the new projects or files you saved will appear here. You will see all the new models here. Also, we have people section. This is the part that you can invite your for example, students, your course attendees, your colleagues. If you are working on some engineering company or design company, you can invite everyone using Fusion 316 here. So this is one of the most important part of Fusion 316. Also, I mean, I can call Fusion 316 as program because it's a platform. It has so many different workspaces that you can use. Today, we will be using mostly the design and render workspaces because we will model some furnitures, for example. But the Fusion 316 has so many different workspaces, as I mentioned. For example, you can use generative design and create different models with help with the AI. Also, you can do animations with Fusion 316. You can do simulations. I mean, I'm mentioning roughly, but for example, if I click the simulation, you will see there are tons of different simulation methods that you can use with Fusion 316. And again, the most important part of these simulations, I mean, doing these simulations with Fusion 316, Fusion is cloud-based program, and you don't have to use your computer's resources to run these simulations. You can use Autodesk servers to run these simulations, and you can get the result without using your computer. And then we have also a manufacture part. I mean, you can do computer-aided manufacturing things after you finish your models, and we have 2D drawing parts, etc. And if we continue with the design workspace, you can also see we have still so many different sections, because I mean, you can use several different methods to model something, and as you can see, solid modeling is the first phase of that. You can do surface modeling. If you want to do reverse engineering, you can use mesh workflow here. You can create sheet metals, or you have different commands that help you to create product design. Products help you do product designing. You have some utilities, and you have different commands for managing your designs. Also, there are three more important parts of this user interface. First one is the browser section. The browser section is the part where all of the skates, models, or for example, canvases you import Fusion 316, all of these will be stored here, and you will see everything in different folders. For now, it's empty because we didn't create anything yet, but by the time you will see, there will appear some different folders here. Also, we have timeline at the bottom of the interface. This is the part that you will see all the commands you used. Since we will be doing parametric modeling, sketch-based parametric modeling, you will see all the commands you used to create that model. Another and last important part to mention, we have a view cube on the right top of the interface. You can click that little cube and rotate the space that we will be using to create models, or you can click any of these front, right, etc. planes and start to work while looking directly into that plane. Yeah, I mean, I can mention the interface with these important parts. So I select some different examples to do today. First one will be this furniture, and this will be a nice example how you can use 2D skates and create commands here or modify commands here. I will show you some of them. Also, we have this egg chair. I mean, it's kind of iconic furniture, and we will be modeling this with different methods named T-spline modeling. I will be showing that. Right after finish these models, we will also take a look render workspace in Fusion 316 and try to achieve photorealistic render as we see in the pictures. I guess I can start with the create sketch command. As soon as you click the create sketch command, Fusion asks you to select one of these planes. Since we are seeing the endless space here, we have to select some plane in order to create a sketch. For example, I can select this plane because I will be showing some of the examples of the 2D sketching environment. As you can see, as soon as we select one plane, all the commands here are changed because now we are creating skates. Maybe I can start with line commands. When I select that command, I can click different positions on the space, and I can start to create some lines. As you can see, I mean, this is pretty generic. It's all of these programs starts with line command if you want to start the sketch. Maybe I can mention that because as you can see, we have slightly blue background here because we created a plane. This is the most important part of creating skates, because in order to create 3D models, we will need some profiles, as you can see here. But if you check this one, we don't have any blue color here because we don't have any closed profile. Maybe I can move this here, and as soon as I close the whole whole profile, it appears as blue as we want. There are different comments we can use here. Since we don't have enough time to show all of them one by one, I will be showing some examples. For example, rectangle is one of the most important comments we can use, and we will also use this to get this furniture. For example, I click that comment and I click the first corner of that rectangle. As you can see, if I don't click the other corner, I can give some dimension to this drawing. If I click without giving any number, it only appears like this. But if I click the first corner of that rectangle and before clicking the second one, I can give some dimension on it. For example, 100 this section, this part, and 150 other part, and let's delete this one. As you can see, if I finish the comment after giving a dimension, you can also see the dimensions here. And if you double click these dimensions, for example, let's make this 250, it's directly changed the profile's dimension. Also, if you didn't give any dimension while creating, we also have sketch dimension comment. You might also realize that we have some letters on some of the comments. This is the keyboard shortcut, and you can, for example, for sketch dimension, we have D. If you press D on your keyboard, you can give the dimensions after created the rectangle or any other comments here. Let's give 100 again. As you can see, we can get the same result with the right one. There are another different comments. For example, circle, you can create circle, or its keyboard shortcut is C. You can use C to select circle comments. There are different methods. You can create polygons, ellipses, slots, splines. Splines is one of the most important commands for creating smooth shapes, smooth surfaces. And also you can use mirror if you have symmetrical designs. If you want to create symmetrical designs, you can use mirror or pattern commands to get different shapes. I will be showing this with the furniture I mentioned. Also, we have modify panel. We will see this modify panel with also 3D models. We are in the sketch environment now, and all the comments you are seeing here is related to this sketch, but we will also see this sketch comments in 3D modeling workspace. So, for example, we have fillet here, but we have fillet also in the 3D modeling environment. Mostly I can suggest you to use fillets with 3D models, not with the sketch. But since this is a demo, I can show you how you can give fillets to 2D drawings. For example, I can select this part and let's say 10. And if I press Control on my keyboard, I can do multiple selection. And as soon as I press enter, you can see that we have different corners now. For example, let's accept that like we finished our modeling, sketching, and we want to continue with modeling. As soon as you finish your sketching, you should click the finish sketch command here. And you will see that we have our sketch here. Also, as I mentioned at the beginning, now we have sketch folder, and we can see our first sketch here. And also all of the comments on the top are changed, so we can continue with the 3D modeling. The first 3D modeling comment here we will be using is extrude. Extrude is again one of the most important comments that you can start with the 3D modeling. We will be using extrude too much while modeling this furniture. Let's select the extrude comment here. You will see Fusion 316 asks us to select a profile. Now we have different profiles. We can select one here. When I select the profile, close profile, you will see some icons appears here. One is the part that you can give dimension and how much distance you want to extrude this profile. If you want, you can select multiple profiles. For example, we have 4 different profiles. If you press Ctrl on your keyboard, you can select different profiles at the same time, and when you move your icon here, arrow icon here, it will change all of them at the same time. And again, if you want to work with dimensions, I mean, we are not giving any dimension here, we are just moving this icon here, but if you want, you can also give some dimension, for example 150, and as soon as I press enter, you will see that we have our first 3D models here, and you can also see that we have bodies folder and we have different bodies here. Also, you know that we have timeline at the bottom of the Fusion 316, and you can see that we can see 2 different commands we used. Firstly, we created a sketch, and then we used extrude command to make these sketch 3D models. For example, you wanted to change the size of these extrudes. You can right-click the command you want to change. For example, I mean, in this case, we want to change the extrude command. Right-click it, and if you click the edit feature command here, you can immediately change the value of that extrude. For example, let's change it to 50 and press enter. You will see that these things are changed. There are also different commands here. Maybe I can show you revolve commands with some empty space with different file, different design. You will see that we have a new design button here. If you press that, Fusion opens another empty file, and you can continue on working this. In order to show revolve command, I need to create some sketches. Let's click the create sketch button here. Select a plane. For example, we can select this one, and let's create a profile. Yeah, this should be fine to show you revolve. In order to use revolve command, we also need some access, because with revolve command, while we are using revolve command, Fusion will ask us to select the profile and select an access. For now, we have, maybe I can show the origin folder here. For now, we have different origins to use, I mean, different axes to use, but if you want, you can also select on edge of the profile, or you can create different axes with the line command. For example, I can also create a line here, and I can use this line on edge of the profile, or the axis that Fusion gives us. I can use all of them to what can I say, to select the axis. So I select the revolve command here. Since we have only one profile, Fusion 360 automatically select that. Also, it asks us to select the axis, and as I mentioned, you can select the on edge of that profile, or you can select another edge you just created, or you can select z-axis, for example, to create that shape. And as you can see, Fusion revolves all the profile and create a different body. Let's say 360. And this is another method that you can use. There are tons of useful commands here, but as I said, we don't have enough time to show all of them. Maybe we can start with the modeling this one, because with this furniture, I will also show you some modify commands here. You can see the fillets I mentioned that we also have that command in 3D sketching site. Let's close this. I don't want to save. I don't want to save this one. Let's think about it. Maybe we can start with basic cube and that start to split it with the edges we are seeing in the image. I mean, we are aiming to get close as possible. We won't manufacture it. We just want to see same visual with the image we are seeing here. Sorry, always on top. And firstly, I want to create a sketch here. Let's select this profile. I get some dimensions for this furniture. Let's create that. 2-point rectangle would be fine. I created something and then I select sketch dimension command here. Let's dimension here, 81. Let's give some dimension here. Actually, I also need to mention something. We are, for example, we are writing here 160, but this is millimeter, but this one is centimeters. So we would like to change this. If you want, you can write like 160 centimeter. As soon as you do that, Fusion change the dimension of that part. We should do same for that. Yeah, now we have the exact right dimension. Let's move that a bit. I will click the finish sketch because this profile is enough for me to start modeling. Let's see our furniture again. Then I will click the extrude command and move this to what was our dimension? 40 or 400 millimeter. And we created our first base. Now we can continue with the details we are seeing here. I mean, there are different approach. If you want to model something like this, you can model every single part on it separately and then combine different bodies, or you can, like we are doing here, you can create a base model and then continue with splitting it. I mean, both are fine. I thought that would be faster if I split this model after create the base one. And also I can show you some of the modify commands because it's not enough to create a body with these create commands. You also need to modify these bodies right after created them. To split this body, we can use this workflow. I will click the create sketch and I will draw some lines. For example, this one according to reference, maybe we can make it closer there. I will create some different lines here, and then I will use lines to split the body. I'm not giving any dimension. I mean, if you want, you can give some dimension between the edge of the 3D model and the sketch you are creating. But as I said, we don't need for now. We are just trying to get close visual. So again, the last line for here, I created that. And I'm clicking finish sketch. Now we need to split that body. Under the modify panel, you will see split body command. I click that command, body to split. Fusion asking which body I would like to split. I'm selecting this one and also splitting tools. Fusion let you select different lines to split, but I wouldn't suggest you because you can get some errors. So that's why we will be doing this one by one. First, I select this edge and click OK. And I will show you something right after click the OK. So when I clicked OK, Fusion split the body as I wanted, but I can't see the lines I created any longer, because if you use any sketch with any create commands or any commands in Fusion 316, Fusion wants to hide that sketch or lines in that sketch. You can click the I button here and make that visible, make these sketches visible again, and continue to using them. So let's continue. For example, split body to split here. Splitting tool is that one. Click OK and continue. Modify split body to split, splitting tool here. Continue. We have one more. Split body to split, splitting tool is that one. So we created this. Let me hide this sketch. We have different parts for this furniture. We should create a shell or create a thickness, because we should have empty space here. So we have another command called shell. With that command, you can delete the face you selected and give a thickness to that model. As you can see, as soon as I select that face, shell commands make empty of this body. Click OK, and you're seeing that we are getting close to that model. We have some covers. We can create that covers with create sketch command. It's pretty easy, and even we can customize this furniture maybe even more. For example, I select create sketch command. I would like to also mention that you don't have to select. For example, let me hide these bodies. When you click create sketch command, you don't have to select these planes that Fusion gives you. If you have different bodies, I mean, if you created different bodies, you can also select flat surfaces of these bodies. For example, I will select this one. Let's create a 2-point rectangle here. Let's create another with some distance between each other. And I will create another one. And maybe for this part, we can draw some drawings, for example, drawings. Let's extrude these parts through inside. You should be careful while using extrude command, because you might see that the operation is changed to join. Since we start to create this profile on another body, Fusion thought that we want to join these different bodies with each other, but we don't want it, because if you think about that furniture, these are the separate parts. So we should change the operation to new body, because we want to create new bodies, as you can see here. Create OK. I mean, this is looking too thick, so I need to right click this command, edit feature, and make the thickness less, like this, for example. I mean, this is not that important, but that would be better if we make it less thick. So let's continue. Create sketch, select this face, create a rectangle here. So this will be the panel that we separate these covers and the drawers we will draw. We will model, finish sketch, click extrude, and extrude all the way, like this. Okay, and lastly, let me draw our drawers here. I will also show you some important parts to achieve photorealistic renders. For example, we should use fillets all the time after creating our models. I create a new body, then I will do the same for bottom part of it. Oh, to extrude, we also have keyboard shortcuts. I'm using that. Forgot to mention you. I press E from my keyboard and select profile and extrude it. If you use this kind of shortcuts, is modeling with Fusion 316 is super easy. You can do it is pretty fast. We started to getting something there, and maybe we can save the model before continue. To save the model, we can use again keyboard shortcut Control S, or we can click this button. I will use this one, furniture 1, for example, furniture 1. As you can see, Fusion now uploading this model to cloud. If we have some other persons in this, if we had some different persons in this project, peoples in this project, they would also see this model in their own computer, because that's how cloud works. Yeah, we can continue. We can add some details these parts, because I didn't show you how you can cut some models. Let's create another sketch here, for example. That would be fine, and let's add there something like this circle. We can add this kind of circular details. Yeah, finish sketch. And while extruding, I show you that if you extrude this, I mean, if you start to create a profile from another body and you can try to extrude, Fusion wants to join it. But if you move this icon the other way, Fusion try to cut that body. This is the thing that we want to do now, because we are trying to add some details. You can see it started to cut. We can select multiple profile to do that. For example, I'm selecting all of these, and if I press OK, you will see something weird. Let's click OK. As you can see, it's the command tried to also cut the main body, but we don't want it, so we can edit that. I mean, we can select what Fusion should cut. So to do that, right click the extrude command we used, go to edit feature. You can see there is a little part named objects to cut. Select that, and you might remember this is the first body we created, so the name should be body 1. As you can see, as soon as I select that, Fusion is not cutting that edge because I unselected that. Click OK, and you can see we are doing fine for now. So we also have some legs. Let's create these quickly. Create sketch. Select the bottom part of this model. Create select 2-point rectangle command. Select the rectangle here. Finish sketch. I will show you different workflow. You can continue with extruding it. As you can see here, let's make it shorter. Create a new body. If you created a new body, you can copy and paste that model. For example, let's name this as leg 1 or leg. If you select that model from the browser and use your keyboard shortcuts Control C and Control V, not WV, you can copy and paste that model. We should do the same for the behind or rear of the model. Control C, Control W, and you see that we have the legs for that model. So we created something looking fine for now, but as I said, in order to get photorealistic renders, we should fillet all the edges, because in the real life, I mean, you can think about the real life, we don't have perfectly sharp items. All of them, even a knife, have a fillet on it. I mean, it's small amount, but it have that fillet. So we should use that fillet command. After select the fillet command, you should select the edge, or you can select the face, and you can fillet all the edges that of that face. Or as I said, you can select an edge and you can fill up that. We won't give some huge value here. Let's say like 2 mm maybe, but we don't have time to select all of the edges one by one, so we will do that with the window selection. I will select all of the models and then give like 1 mm, so it will fill it all the edges you can see, and you will see now it will help us to get realistic render. We finished our model, so we can continue with the render workflow. Maybe select the render workspace, and you will see that now we have some metallic furniture, but like the reference image, we might want it in wood, some wood materials. You also see that as soon as we change the workspace, the comments are changed, and we can start with the appearance comment, because this is the section where all materials are hidden. Let me show you some examples. As you can see, we have so different folders, and all of these folders are include some different materials. For this model, I mentioned that we want to use wood or different kind of wood materials. Maybe walnut would be great for this one. In order to use these materials, the only thing you need to do is press that material, move it into model, and you will see that the material will change immediately. This is one of the parts that Fusion is really strong. You can see these materials are so realistic. I mean, you might know different programs that you can use for example, media and industry sectors, but you have to do some extra steps to get this kind of realism. But with Fusion 316, it's enough to move and drop it into model. So again, we don't have to select one by one. I will select this material here and drop it into furniture one component. Let's say remove, and you can see that we immediately change the material of all the models. You can select different materials here. I mean, you don't have to continue with that model. For example, we have fabric materials. Let's try some fabric material here. I mean, you want to customize your design. If you want to customize your design, you can select so many different things. For example, you can give some glass material on it. Let's select this light color one and drag and drop here. You can see that we have glass material. What we have? Another thing. That's fine. For example, we have mirror material. Drag and drop, and you can see that we can see the reflections on it. That we have rear side of the scene, etc. And I will reverse it because the first one that created were looking better. And this is not enough to get some renders because we didn't start to getting render. We just assigned some materials. If you want to render, or if your students want to render, you can use cloud-based render within Fusion 316. With the education licenses, your students or instructors have unlimited credits. So if you click that teapot button here, before we should save our design. If you click that render button, you can see that you can render this model with, sorry, I shouldn't click another place. You can use Cloud Renderer to render that one. As soon as you click the render button, it's submitted into cloud or servers of Autodesk and start the rendering. You can also see the process of rendering under the rendering gallery here. For example, we sent it a few seconds ago, and you can see the rendering is started. I mentioned that we will also model this egg chair. I mean, I will go over it super quickly because we don't have enough time for that. But as I said, Fusion have different modeling methods. The create form button here you are see have different workflow. You might heard about the T-splines. T-splines is kind of different because you don't have to create sketches to get 3D models. You can start with primitive objects. I will try to explain what is T-splines, how you can modify it with some primitive objects. For example, we can start with box model here. When I click box model or box command, Fusion wants me to select one of these profiles. Let's select this one and create a profile or create a box here. As you can see, this is looking way more softer than the previous rectangles or cubes we created because our aim to using or creating models with T-splines is getting smooth objects. That's why we are getting smooth objects here. Let's click OK. And in the T-splines method or modeling with T-splines, in order to modeling with T-splines, we should do that. You can right-click the model, and if you click the Edit Form button here, you can see that I can select some faces, some edges, or some vertex on the model. And when I clicked one of them, you can see that some icons appears, and you can navigate these things. For example, I can move a little bit, or I can rotate that face. And when I rotate it, the other faces that have contact with this face I selected also moves. So this is the main part of modeling with T-splines. As you can see, I can move vertices, I can move faces, edges, etc. You can do whatever you want, and this is really easy to create this kind of shapes with freeform modeling part of Fusion 360. So this is the one part that you can use T-splines. You can also use face or plane commands. I mean, as you can see, we have a body, we have a T-spline body that has some volume. But if you want to create some complicated shapes, you can use face command here. The face commands is doing that. Let me hide the other body. If you select the profile, you can create a simple shape, as you can see here. With the Fusion 360 modeling tools, I mean, you know that in order to change this face, we should right-click, select Edit Form command, and we can navigate the edge we selected. But if you press Alt key on your keyboard and continue with moving this edge, Fusion adds another face rather than the it's not only moving the edge you selected, it's also adding edge to that. So you can use this method to model things like I showed you before, like this egg chair, and we will be modeling this one. The only thing you need to do before moving the edge you selected, you should press Alt key from your keyboard, as you can see here. So let's open a empty file, empty folder. Oh, as you can see, and also I want to mention that Fusion is finished the rendering while we are working on different file. This is the power of cloud, rendering with cloud, because the Fusion didn't use our own computer's resources, and we managed to continue on modeling something different. So let's continue with create form command here. I also want to show you that we can import canvases to Fusion 360, and we can use this reference image to continue to modeling. I will select insert from my computer and select the egg chair I mentioned. Let's select the face, and you can see that we have our reference image in the Fusion 360. Before continue, we should calibrate this image because we don't know the dimension of this chair. I also checked that before start the test drive, our test drive, it's like 100 centimeters. So let's calibrate it. In order to calibrate this reference image, we should right click to canvas, select calibrate command here, and select 2 points on it. Let's say centimeter. As you can see, the first size that by the time we imported that reference image was quite small. Now we have our reference image in the right dimension. Let's continue with creating some faces on it. Select profile, select plane, sorry, and create basic shape here. Click OK. Then we can continue to create the rest of the shape. Right click to the model, edit form, press Alt key from your keyboard and move it. I will do that quickly since we don't have enough time, but you can go into detail as you wish and create as how much you can add how much detail you want. I'm selecting the edge. I'm pressing Alt key from my keyboard. I move that edge and doing some adjustments on the vertices according to image we have. Well, that should be fine for now. Click OK because we don't want to move it. Yeah, so we have some basic shape, but as you can see, it's planar. It don't have any thickness, or we can't see our shape that we want. To get that, double click. You can double click the model or plane. Right click, edit form again, move the shape a little, for example, like this. And then you can double click the one of the edge. Sorry. You can double click here, select edit form, and move the edge you selected. I mean, the edge loop you just selected. And also, I mean, I moved it a little bit to origin point we have. And then I can click I can press the Alt key from my keyboard and move it a little more. So as you can see, we have the half of the shape we wanted. To get the rest of the model, we have some commands. For example, you can see symmetry panel here, and mirror duplicate command will give what we want. We want the symmetric part of this model. Let me show you the mirror duplicate command. It wants us to select T-spline body and a mirror plane. For now, we don't have mirror plane. We don't have any mirror plane. To get mirror plane, we can use construct panel, and there are so many commands that we can use, but the one that we need to get a plane, right plane for this model will be the plane through 3 points, because we have so many points to select. And if you select 3 points, as I show you, we will get the right plane. Let's go with plane through 3 points. Select 1, 2, 3 vertices, and then use symmetry, mirror duplicate, select our T-spline body, select the mirror plane, and you can see that we get the rest of the model. And the beautiful part of using symmetry command, when you select a vertex or when you edit a vertex, edge, or face, the symmetric part of it will also change. I mean, the symmetric or mirror is continue after, right, even after you create the symmetry. So as I show you, you can modify it as you wish. You don't have to do exactly the same model with the reference. I mean, for now, this is looking fine. Let's continue with that. We created this, but we still don't have any thickness or any volume for this one. To get that volume, we have, or thickness, we have a command have same name with the thing we want. If you select the thicken comment here and select the T-spline body, you can create a thickness. There are some different thicken types. You should select the soft because our reference is soft edge, have soft edge. Let's continue by clicking OK. Maybe we can do it even more thicker. We can do it thicker. Let's continue that. And we created that. After I finish the things that I want to do within a freeform modeling environment, I can click the finish form button, and immediately Fusion changed the model to freeform CAD model. It's not a T-spline body anymore, but it's a CAD model, as you can see here, body one. So let's show the actual reference here. We also have the bottom part of it. Maybe I can quickly create a bottom part. I won't model every single legs here, but I will create something like this quickly. That will be fine to use revolve commands for us. And we have a profile now. Let's finish sketch and create revolve command here and select that axis, create new body. Okay, like this. And I want to remind you that we need to fillet edges here. Okay, and again, let's go to render environment and give this a red fabric, for example. Where's our fabric folder here? Select the fabric and move it into model. And we can give some black to base of that egg chair. And as you can see, we can get this kind of results super quickly. This is also nice to teach your students because they can get any model they would like to do. And yeah, I will save this model, and I can give the floor back to Thomas right after save this model. If you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we can continue. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Furkan, and thank you everyone as well for being with us here. So we are going to round off. As Furkan mentioned, if there are any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, etc., and we'll do our best to respond to them. But while we wait for that, let me also then pick up on what we've just seen. So today we've scratched the surface. Hopefully the demo and test drive has shown you some of the nice, very cool features and functions that you can do with Fusion 360. If you're interested in taking this further, then we have a really nice event coming up. So we'd like to take the opportunity to do a pre-announcement here in this call. And that is to announce an Autodesk Designathon, which is basically a 2-day online event, which will be hosted in the week of 11th of December. So in about 2 months' time from now, roughly 2.5 months' time from now. This event will be completely free, so there's no fees to attend. It will compose of 2 parts. The first day will be dedicated to a training, similar to the one we've just seen, but of course then for a full day going more in depth. And the idea is to prepare the participants to, on day 2, compete in a design challenge. So there will be a fun, inspiring design challenge that the participants will need to solve using Autodesk Fusion 360 on day 2. We are going to encourage students to be the primary participants in this, but we think that for faculty members and educators, there's still a lot of relevance and good inspiration to observe an event like this. The students will be recognized and awarded. We will do showcases on the best teams and award also some nice prizes and other things as part of this event. So this is hopefully something that can be a very logical follow-up from the different points we've covered today. We are doing the pre-announcement today. We are going to follow up in the coming couple of weeks with a more detailed information about the exact dates, what would need to be prepared, and how to participate. But really looking forward to running this event, and I hope that those of you who are here attending the call or listening to the recording would like to participate in the upcoming Autodesk Designathon. So with that said, let's then summarize the net of the call today. Our intention was to give you both an overview of the resources and support that's available to education from Autodesk, but then also show through an initial introduction what you can do with some of these tools, and hopefully underlining the fact that there are ways of quickly getting up and running and creating some really nice designs. So what's available? Well, we covered the software that's available free of charge to qualified educational institutions. For teachers, there's then additionally a wide and huge library of projects and curriculum and training resources that you can leverage as part of your programs and courses. You may also want to consider accessing some of the professional development training that our Autodesk learning partners are providing, as well as Autodesk certification exams, either for your own professional development or as a complementary solution for your students, giving them an industry recognized credential that they can bring with them. And then the final part is, of course, for the students. So they have access to the same resources, the software, the curriculum, the exams, as said. But in addition, we also, of course, want to inspire them and drive creativity, spark interest in these solutions. And that's where different events and design challenges come in. Autodesk is organizing a number of these on global level, but we're particularly then highlighting our upcoming online Designathon, which could be a great starting place for your students to get up and running with Fusion 360, and at the same time have some fun working with their peers and potentially be recognized for their skills through awards and showcases. So we hope that this has been informative and shared the different options available from Autodesk. I don't see any immediate questions at this point, but we will be sharing information following the call. And then you can, of course, also reach out to our team here at Knowledge Point, who are responsible for working with you in terms of implementing these different solutions. So with that said, thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you, Furkan, on our team who showed Fusion. And we look forward to connecting with you soon again. So thanks for being here and wishing you a great rest of your week ahead. Thank you and bye-bye.